Hello, everyone. Welcome to William and the Magic Box. Today on our show, we are going to have Yosef. Yosef is from Mexico, but he lives in San Diego, in California, in the USA. So let's see what Yosef has to say. Enjoy the interview. Hello, Yosef. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
Very well. Thanks so much for taking the time today for the interview. Thank you.
Of course. I'm a bit unwell in terms of health. I've just come over a cold, so I'm slightly congested, but I'm okay.
Oh, thanks again for taking the time. You're not feeling the best when you made the time for the interview. Thank you.
Uh,
So tell me, how's your day going so far?
It's going well. Not much has happened. It is just gone 11:30 in the morning. So I still have quite a bit of day left, but so far, having scheduled this today, I just kind of cleared my morning. So after we're done, you and me, then I'm start getting busy. But other than that, it's a very warm day, at least for me.
Yes.
um, but it's good. I can't complain. I've got shelter. I've got food. Uh,
May
what else do I need?
That's true. That's true. And tell me where you're from.
I was born in Mexico.
Mhm.
I'm currently living in San Diego in America, but I'm a bit of a mutt. A lot of my formative years were happening in Scotland, so I consider that to be my primary home. I
Uh-huh.
still go back every 2 to 3 times a year. I go back.
Wow.
Um, it's a place that's really dear in my heart. You know, the Scots are very welcoming. So even though I wasn't born there, they made sure to let me know that I was one of them because I chose to call it home for 10 years. And I would still be there if life hadn't thrown me to San Diego, but we'll get to that in a bit later.
Yes, actually, I made a note here about when I saw the Scottish and the Mexican flag on your profile. I was like, I need to ask him about that. What's the connection between, Mexico and also Scotland? So I said, okay, now I just answered my question before.
Yeah, I got to Scotland in 2011.
Uh-huh.
I was a young professional at age 20, yeah, 22. Um, and I was working at the Scottish Parliament, and that just kind of indoctrinated me into Scottishness, right? I was a policy advisor for the MSP. All my friends were very involved in politics, and the independence referendum was kind of getting its legs put in there. So it was just a very beautiful time to arrive to Scotland. And like I said, everyone from either side of the party lines were very welcoming. Um, I then moved to London. I lived in London close to 3 years.
Wow.
And whilst living in London, I met my ex partner who is from Scotland. And so I started to commute between Edinburgh and London for about a year
Wow.
before I made the decision to go back to Edinburgh. And then I was there for another 5 or 6 years until our relationship fell apart. And then I came to San Diego with a broken heart and some sort of disoriented professional direction. And yeah, what was supposed to be like a 2 month stay ended up being 5 years because the pandemic kept me here forcibly.
Wow.
And next thing you know, it's been 5 years. I decided to just stay here instead.
And where's about in Mexico you come from?
Mexico City, the capital.
I see.
Yeah.
And San Diego was just out of last minute like idea. Did you have connection with the city, with the US or not?
Yeah. Well, my dad was born in America, so I've always had the US citizenship. Um, so my mom and dad have been living in San Diego since 2010.
Hmm.
And so when we go back to 2020, after I separated from my ex, I just needed somewhere to go. So I was heartbroken and all sorts of lost. And so my parents were like, well, why don't you come over here and stay with us for a couple of months while you figure out what to do?
Hmm.
And I arrived in January of 2020. And in March, just 2 days before my birthday, British Airways sent me an email saying, you can't come back because the world is shutting down from a pandemic.
Oh my
And I
gosh.
said, okay. And yeah, just kept extending my return date by weeks, then by months. Eventually it became a year. And I was like, well, I guess I have to get a job now. And that's how I just kind of ended up staying here in San Diego.
Wow. And what you're doing right now for work?
I'm currently a web programmer.
Mhm.
I decided that I wanted to try out being a digital nomad and just kind of be traveling around whilst I work. I'm still trying to launch that professionally. Like I've learned how to work the full stack. I can create web applications, but no one yet has given me the chance to work for them. So I'm on a freelance basis at the moment.
I see.
So it is what it is. But I think in today's economy, it became more reasonable to try and get into tech instead of fighting against it.
That's so true. That's so true. Okay, Yosef. So during the interview, I'm going to explore a little bit more about your life and also about your journey so far, okay?
Okay.
Are you ready to go on a beautiful journey through your memories life and share your point of views?
Let's do
Amazing.
it.
Welcome to William and the Magic Box. So I
Yeah.
have here my best friend. Full of random fun questions. I'm just gonna play a song just for us to relax before the first question, okay?
Okay.
Let's do it. Yes, you can always join me. So before we start the game, during the journey, if it comes up a question that you don't want to answer, you don't want to talk about, I always can change, okay?
All right.
First question for you is, what is the most meaningful gift have you ever received?
The most meaningful gift I've ever received. Goodness. Just after Christmas as well, eh? Um, my brother and his fiance are, for the last 3 years, have gotten it spot on in terms of my present. And I thought I was a good present giver, but no, like they've knocked it out the park for the last 3 years. They've gotten me, a pair of trainers when I'm in some sort of like fitness mode, and they're just my style, and it's like they observe me really well. They've gotten me little electronic trinkets that are tremendously useful, that I didn't even know I needed. Um, so I would say that. I mean, yeah, I could give you like a more, the gift of family or whatever, but that's a boring answer. I'd like to say, yeah, I want to give that to my brother and his fiance. They've been brilliant at observing me through the year and then like hitting the nail on the head for Christmas. So we'll give them that.
Amazing. And you have just one brother or have other siblings as well?
I've just got the one older brother. He's 18 months older than I am. So we
Wow.
grew up almost like twins, the
Uh-huh.
aunties and uncles giving us the same present, only different color, like, all that stuff. But I love him a bit. He's been a tremendous source of support and love in my life. So I'm very grateful for him.
Wow. Okay, so your brother is watching this interview right now and you have a moment, an opportunity to send him a message. What would you say?
You're amazing and good luck on your exam this Thursday.
Beautiful. Saying that, yourself, what's the biggest difference between you and your brother and the biggest similarity?
Biggest difference, oofty. I am a lot more carefree than he is. He's very meticulous, very careful. He's a homeowner. I'm renting. Um, he has the wife to be. He has the dog. He pays his bills. Has good credit. And then there's me, right? Like the day by day couch surfer jumps in an airplane boat. I was like, okay, we'll see what happens. We'll pay the next month's bill today, and see what goes on. But that would be the biggest difference. The biggest similarity, probably our commitment to family.
Mhm.
Like, I think me and him, we would drop anything at any time if anybody in the family was like, hey, I need support, or, oh, it's my auntie's birthday, number 70. It's like, okay, well, we're going to take the time to visit and like make a big deal out of it. We're tremendously committed to family, I think. So yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. It's great to see, this beautiful bond between you and your brother and also family as well. I think in the end of the day, it's all come down to our family. That's how I believe.
Yeah. I think
And,
that's the Latin in it. Like us
yeah,
Latinos are like, we're all about
yeah.
family.
And most of your family live in the US as well, or they are back in Mexico?
Yeah, no. My parents and my brother are here in San Diego. My brother ended up in California wanting to be an actor in his 20s.
Wow,
But that didn't pan out. So now he's going to law school. Um, he's going to become a lawyer. But my parents just kind of came here because they were wanting beach and good weather, and San Diego's a lovely town. So when it came for me to join them, it was kind of like, oh well, my brother's already there. My parents have been living there for a couple of years after him, so let's just make it all of us there. But yeah, most of my relatives are either in Mexico City or in the north of Mexico, in a small fishing town called Ensenada.
I see. Okay, next question. Let's do it. Yes. Next question is, what do you miss the most from your childhood and why?
How carefree my childhood was. I had a wonderful childhood. I never wanted or needed for anything. My parents provided me and my brother with everything that we could possibly need. Um, and my mom would always say, just enjoy your childhood, don't wish it away, because once you grow up, there's no turning back. Obviously, I didn't listen. And so now, with bills and jobs and responsibilities, I'm like, oh, remember when you didn't have to worry about feeding yourself and it would just appear in front of you? So I miss that. And I did have a wonderful childhood. It wasn't perfect, no childhood is, but with the experience of adulthood, you realize just how good I had it. And I was blessed with two very loving parents. They supported us. They gave everything they could to us. Um, and I'd like to think that they raised two decent human beings. So I have to be very grateful for that as well.
And growing up, did you have access to both language, English and Spanish, or only Spanish at the time?
No, I grew up 100% bilingual. My parents raised us in a English school.
Yeah.
We grew up in like very affluent schools and neighborhoods, and so I'm very lucky in that sense that I got a really good foundation. By the time I want to say 13, I was already, having friends from Britain and America and corresponding with them, and like just grew up with a lot of people from all over the world of different cultures. So English and Spanish, I consider myself completely bilingual. When I went to uni, I started to learn French and Arabic. I gave up on the Arabic; it was far too difficult. But I kept with the French, and now I'm highly proficient in French. I have a master's degree in translation from French and Spanish into English.
Wow.
So I get to hang that little pin of pride, right? Trilingual.
Amazing. Great. Next question, ready?
Yes.
Let's do it. Next question. By the way, do you know what I'm playing right now? I'm playing Shusha, Rainha de los Barritos. I don't know if you'll remember her.
Shusha.
Yes.
Like from my childhood, Shusha.
Yes. Ilari, Ilari, yeah. Oh, 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 Ilari, Ilari.
Yes.
Es la hora, es la hora.
Shusha te saluda con amor, Ilari, 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 yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yes. All right. That is a tune. Oh my God.
I'm a big fan. I grew up watching Xuxa every single morning back in the 80s in Brazil. So I'm a big fan. Yes.
See, we used to get the reruns in Mexico, like in the 90s.
Yeah,
we would get the reruns of that. So that's how I remember that.
Yeah, she was very big in the 90s. I mean, I think she left when she became very big in Argentina first, and after she went all of South America, in Spain as well. So she's my biggest idol. Right.
Oh, we love it.
Before the next question, Yassef, when I was checking your profile, of course, there are two phrases that got my attention. The first one was airports are home. Yeah. So I
Mhm.
believe that's because your travels around the world, travels to, to Europe and back, South America as well, and the US. But about other thing, about the trans community as well. You mentioned with the flag, you mentioned about the trans community. Yeah.
Yeah.
So my question for you is, I believe you're part of the LGBTQ plus community, yes?
Yes.
Amazing.
I am a
So
gay
tell,
man.
so tell me a little bit about your journey so far as a gay man, like growing up, back in South America, no, Central America, yeah, Mexico, with
Mhm.
having Latinos parents, yeah, our culture. Did you have the support of your family or parents, or was it a bit difficult at the time?
Um, I remember, like, I came out of the closet when I was 20 years old, and I decided to come out of the closet to my family because they were about to move to America, so to California. So I was like, okay, well, I'd rather we have a conversation in person than just like through a text. But growing up, for all the good that I had as a child from my parents, my dad was incredibly homophobic growing up, right? Like tremendously so. Um, my mom wasn't necessarily overtly homophobic, but she enforced the homophobic policies that came from dad. Dad says his law. Um, so I very much grew up with this notion that it was a non-negotiable. I was going to live my life as a straight man and get married, and you know, I started to realize it was a problem when I started to hope that maybe whomever I married got like afflicted with some deadly disease and then she would die and then I would have to not remarry out of heartbreak. Like, and then you start thinking of that and like, oh my God, this is not okay. So with time and maturity, I developed the confidence to pull the trigger and like wage, whatever may come, whether I lose my family or not. But again, by cosmic fortune, it only took my dad like one night to come around. When I came out, we had just finished dinner and we got into an argument about like the visibility of the gays in the 2000s, right? It's like, oh, they're everywhere now. Oh. And I was like, this is your opportunity, go for it. So I started to push back.
Wow.
Whereas normally I would just let him go on a rant and I was like, but I just started to push back on whatever. And then it started to escalate and escalate. And it's just at the very pinnacle, I just came out and I said it. And my mom obviously dropped everything and came and hugged me and started crying. And my dad just kind of sat there silently looking at the wall behind me. And then I was like, okay, well, good night. And so I went to bed. Literally, we're about 2 weeks from moving away. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go to bed. Um, and then the next morning, we were back to normal. Like, literally, no issue at all. I think he gave me a hug thing and like asked me what do you want for breakfast, and that's when I knew we were okay. And it was really beautiful because then they moved away, and then I could hear from relatives and from like my mom herself, like, "Oh, your dad's really turned around. Like now he's advocating for equality, and he's very proud of like the courage that you've had and all that stuff." And so like now, they came to my wedding. I was married. They came to my gay wedding in Edinburgh. They
Wow.
celebrated with me. They commiserated through my divorce. They've met my previous partners. They celebrate the fact that I'm a member of the LGBTQ plus community. Um, so I'm very grateful for that because I know that even though attitudes are changing in modern Mexico, that's not so much the case in provinces and outside of the big urban spaces. You've got your Mexico cities, Guadalajara, Monterrey, and gay Puerto Vallarta. Like those are safe spaces, but outside of that, it's not that easy yet. And yet, with my dad, he did the biggest attitude change, and with that came influencing other relatives of mine that may not have been overtly homophobic over doing homophobic things, right? And like trying to convince their children to, oh, you're not lesbian, you just haven't met the right man, kind of thing. And so like in that sense, I'm very, very happy that I was the first cousin. Still, as far as I'm aware, the only confirmed gay cousin, but we've got our suspicions of you. um, but it's their business, and my door's always open if they want to talk about it, and we respect that. But I can proudly say I was the first cousin.
Maybe after they watch this interview, they're gonna go like, you know what? I think now it's time to talk to Yassef. Now he opened the door. Now I can come up to him now.
Exactly, and that's what, because I remember how lonely it felt, right, and how overwhelming. And now in this age of internet and connectivity, like I can
Yeah,
imagine some of my cousins or cousins' kids, whoever might be there, if there are any, looking on their Instagram feeds and seeing like, I wish I had that lifestyle, but I have no one to talk to. And looking around at their parents' attitudes and their grandparents' attitudes, it's like, well, it, it really does get better. Not to like hash out that old tagline from 2010, it does get
good.
better. So if I could be of any motivation or support, all the better. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think nowadays it's the information out there is so much exposed. You know, people they're expressing a lot about their lives. They are more open about talking about different topics. And I think nowadays with a word on Google or on a video, you can find a lot of information. I think the people nowadays they have access to much more information, is more understanding as well. Somehow they feel more brave or more they encourage themselves to be more open and open up about their true self. Doesn't matter how they feel, could be anything. That's how is the way they can express themselves. That's the best part. Okay, next question for you is, if you could have been in a moment or event in history, which one that would be and why?
Um, the fall of the Roman Empire, I mean, that happened across decades, if not centuries. But as the current manifestations of modern day empires are starting to collapse, I would like to have witnessed the collapse of the most notorious, most famous, most mentioned empire in our times, just to kind of take notes, because I definitely think that there's a lot of house tidying up we need to do across both continents and across the world, really. So I would like to take some notes and see the fall of the Roman Empire.
Wow. Saying that, what's the meaning of life for you, Yassef? When you think about life, what's your idea of it?
Um, it's an opportunity to create something wonderful out of the cosmic singularity that we're a part of, and not to be afraid of the fact that we are insignificant in the great scheme of the cosmos. And I think that in accepting our insignificance comes the beauty of our existence. Like we're literally a blink in time. So make the most out of it, be kind to people, make some positive impact, whatever that is. And yeah, just live every day to the best of your ability.
And what's the most, let's say, impactful lesson that life has taught you?
Well, we would need an entire hour for that, but let me just give you the condensed. I have, for the last year, I've decided to go into serious active recovery from substance use. Um, so I have been struggling with crystal meth for about 10 years. Um, and so last February, I decided to make an impactful change, right? Not just be like, oh, yeah, I'm going to try not to and then do it again. So I went into residential treatment, and then I got involved with the sober community here in San Diego. And it was the scariest thing, but it has been tremendously rewarding. Like the the gifts that I've received from just looking introspectively at myself and looking at my faults, face them, do things to change them, and like take be accountable, be held accountable with myself, and just kind of like tell myself, find something to define yourself, that has nothing to do with intoxicants, right? And my problem is crystal meth, but I've decided to just kind of like do away with all intoxicants. So I'm not drinking, and whether I come back to it or not, it's a question for me to answer another time. But like at the moment, I'm really enjoying the clarity of just reconnecting with my true self and figuring out what I want with my life and giving myself the respect and the dignity that I am owed to myself. And the rewards of that have been tremendous. Like,
Wow.
uh, I have a community here that will look after me, check in on me. Like, you're showered with love, and then you give that back, and it's just like this. this wonderful, wonderful circle of people, and I would be devastated if I hadn't taken that path last February. Like, I don't even know where I would be. Perhaps still
Wow.
alive, because it was never really a out of control addiction. It was just a really bad habit that I would do every 3 to 4 months. But it would destroy everything around me for those 3 days to 5 days I would do it. So, and now I'm building this foundation that's so strong. And I have been able to confront some of my insecurities, some of my blind spots, and the amount of personal growth that I've made in the last 10 months has been tremendous. So I'm very grateful for that.
Wow. Thanks again for opening up about that, Yassef. I know it's a very personal, event, and talking about it, it's not just about helping people, but about healing as well. I'm sure, put it out. You know what I mean? This experience, and I'm sure people appreciate that. You never know who's watching this interview right now, and sometimes seeing someone, expressing, the way you are right now, happiness in a journey that you started. I think it's about healing and helping people as well. So thanks for being so open and talk about it. Amazing. Any questions left? Let's do it.
Okay. I'm a
Yes,
much better dancer than this. I just don't have the music. So.
I know. Okay, next question is, what do you think is a good age to start dating and why?
Ooh. Um, I think definitely as an adult. I don't think dating. After after 25, from 25 onwards, um, and I would add the stipulation that you have to be in therapy. You have to have a therapist and over 25 to get into the dating. That would be definitely my requirements. And I
How?
think
Yeah.
that might be because um, the first two relationships I got in, the first one I messed it up tremendously because I was not ready. I didn't know how to handle the conflict of wanting to be in a committed relationship, but also being young, fit thing that's being wanted by everybody else. So I ended up breaking the poor guy's heart. And it's a guilt that I still carry with me. It was a very short relationship, but like the damage I caused was tremendous. I would say, if corporations let you rent a car at 25, there's a level of maturity. And yeah, there's a science about like the frontal lobe gets fully formed by then and all that stuff. But I would, yeah, the stipulation is that you also have to have therapy.
And how do you see the dating life in San Diego? It's easy, or let's say, nowadays in big cities, there's a stigma about everyone is looking after the next one, you know what I mean? So many people. And how do you see in San Diego? Do you see that it's easy to date, or it's the same stigma of big cities?
I think it's the same issues. Everyone's looking at, the next swipe, the next notification from the next stranger. It's definitely it started in the gay community, but now with Tinder going hetero, like I can see it from like straight peers that they're having the same issues, right? It's like, oh yeah, well, we were supposed to meet up on Tuesday for coffee, but they've canceled on me. I don't know why. It's like because they found somebody else. Um, so I think that technology has hindered it. And I remember in my heydays when I was going, clubbing, I was great at cruising with my eyes. Like physically, I could pick up somebody. You put me on an app, and I get in my head and I get all like, well, what do I respond to that? What do they mean by that? What's that woof really mean? Are they woofing at me or at my personality? And then it's like I can't organize it. Um, the scene is huge here. Like there's a lot of places where you can go and meet like-minded people, but everyone's on their screens and not looking up. So it's very frustrating because, from the outside, San Diego has a fantastic gay nudist beach, and during the summer, it's so much fun to go there. But like, I can't remember the last time I met somebody in person there. I just go with my mates, and yeah, and you can see like there's a smorgasbord of all types of bodies and men of all proclivities and preferences and styles. Like it's a parade. You're literally sat in front of the water, and men are parading left and right. And I'm just like, how is it that this is happening in the same city where no one goes on a date? Like, it's just, it's baffles me. But yeah, as much as I love technology, it's one of the things where I think technology has hindered human connection.
For sure. Yeah. And I think the tendency it's always to be more and more now because it's more it's easier, it's fast, you don't have much you don't connect with the person like, this the way we did before. Now there's just wow, straight away. I mean, it's not saying include myself in you as well, I believe. So you know what I mean? We are the same,
Yeah.
somehow we are following the same way of living now. And sometimes when you find someone interesting who gives that extra attention, you go like, wow, how amazing to feel that. You know what I
And
mean?
I do plead guilty. Like on that bloody app, Instagram, like I'm a compulsive liker. Swipe like. But yeah, I've got like my regulars that I chat to and like flirt with, and I just tell them like if and I can tell them now that they might be watching. Like if at some point you send me a message with more substance than just like a thumbs up or a heart emoji, you will get my attention.
Yeah.
So make of that what you will.
No, totally. And I think nowadays when someone gives them their time or their attention, it's a big thing. You know what I mean? When someone goes like when they show up with time, when they give you this little sign of appreciating your company. Oh my God, it's like you feel like, my God, are you real? You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
exactly.
It's amazing,
Absolutely.
amazing. Two questions left. Let's do it.
All right.
Next question for you is: how to describe a perfect, healthy relationship?
Yeah, the perfect healthy relationship. First of all, trust.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, trust comes in the way of like, we all have these moments of insecurity and jealousy, and that's fine. But see those people that are like, share with me your location. I'm like, what? No, that's and if I don't want to share my location, it's not because I have something to hide. It's just like trust should be built organically, not from, you know. So trust would be the most important, I think. And then from there, you build a house of where it's a safe space for you both, where you can be your authentic self, um, and not have it weaponized against you whenever you have a disagreement,
Mm-hmm.
right? And to be able to see the other person's defects and see through them and see the good essence behind that, right? And understand where they're coming from, understand their narrative, and be like, okay, well, they might be terrible at tidying up, but I know from his story growing up that his parents would discipline him terribly about that. So I don't know, understanding their traumas, um, making it a safe space for them to be themselves and for them to afford the same to you,
Mm-hmm.
um, and to have a set of shared goals, whatever they may be.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's all about trust. It goes down to that. You know what I mean? Trust
Mhm.
and the communication is a big thing. Saying that, what's the biggest joy of being yourself? What do you like the most about being you?
I live in a healthy balance of delusion and aspiration. um, I'm very certain that a lot of the times I get through the day pretending I'm the star of my own show. Um, and so that delusion is what gets me out of bed sometimes. Like, well, people are expecting to hear about you, so come on. But I live authentically. I really do.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, there are aspects of my private life that I don't share with everybody. I think everybody does, but I never misrepresent myself or be like, act one way with one person and another way with another. Um, and so that liberates a lot of mental currency for me because I can be on autopilot and not have to worry about what mask I'm going to put on. Have I got masks? I do, but there's two or three and they're always the same. Um, and what helps me get through it is I like to have fun. I never take myself too seriously. I will be that person you will see strutting down the pavement with my earphones on if the song is very sassy. And I don't worry too much about if I look like a fan or no. I'm just like, yes, girls allowed, on. There we go. Boom, 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 boom. Um, and I'll
I love
drop it down at the shopping center if I have to. I just, yeah, it's life's too serious outside, so have an internal monologue that's fun, that's lighthearted, and it makes things a lot easier.
amazing. Last question, ready?
All right, let's do it.
Let's do it. Last question. But before the last question, of course, when you're talking about Scotland, I could feel your joy, your connection with the country. So tell me, what Scotland has taught you when you think about your experience in Scotland. What comes to your mind? And the other part of the question is, live in a different country. You always learn something with the language. There was a word or a slang or something Scottish that for you it was funny, it was interesting, you couldn't say anything if you remember about Scottish.
Tuesday. All right. I mean, like Scots as a dialect is still very much alive. And while I don't speak it naturally, I do understand it. And I'll throw in some Scots dialect in my conversations when I'm back there. Um, oh, but it's like when they ask you, what's your favorite song? And then you forget your favorite song, like you forget every song ever created. Um, let's see. So there's a joke, an ongoing joke. Um, well, actually, no. Here's a good one. My favorite Scottish word, greet, instead of cry. So that because that one threw me for a curve. When I first heard it, it's like I was, I was watching my wee girl playing the violin and at her recital, and I was pure greeting, and I'm like, greeting who? So now I was crying. I was like, so I dropped that a lot. It's like, you're watching a sad film, like, oh hell, that Kate Winslet, she made me goo. Um, but yeah, and I think that's what's so brilliant about Scotland is it's such a tiny country, but it's so rich in its own
Yes.
individual culture apart from the UK. Like it is Britain, but it's distinctly Scotland. It is distinctly Scotland, and everyone is so tremendously proud of the fact, right, that they've been able to retain that separation in identity. And you can hear it in their passion of their voice when they're talking about their nation and about their history, and it's just so infectious. It is so infectious. Uh, um, and yeah, it helps that the people that I was working for when I first arrived, like they're all about like open borders and welcome everybody, and you're one of us if you do us the honor of choosing to be with us. And it's like, and it was very refreshing to me that when as as opposed to my experience living in America, um, in Scotland, they're like, you don't usually get the follow up question of like, but where are you really from, right? You start seeing multiculturalism in Scotland, but they all have, the accent, and they're not like,
Yeah.
well, yeah, but you're from Glasgow, from where before that, where? No, like it's like, yeah, no, you stay in the West End of Scotland, of Glasgow, that's where you're from, right? Or you stay in North Edinburgh, you're a Leither, that's where you're from. Um, they don't really give you that pushback. It's like, no, but where are your parents from? And so that it made me feel really welcome. It was a fresh breath of the air because growing up, not only multinationally but multiracially. My mom's of African ancestry from the Caribbean, and so in Mexican society, you're like, well, their idea of black people is only Americans, right? And so like, but you're not American, so where are you really from? And then when I was in America for university, they're like, well, you're not black enough because you don't sound like you're from Atlanta. And so it's like, I was never belonging to anybody. And then I arrived to Scotland and they're like, oh, you're one of us. Ah. And then I started to drop some of their words and their verbiage and like, oh, you're definitely one of us, aren't you? And I'm like, oh my God, I feel like I belong. And so I quickly wrapped myself in that flag and I was like, I refuse to let it go. 5 years on. I mean, it's not been my permanent home for 5 years, but I keep an
Wow.
emotional tie and I go back to I intentionally make time to go back every year, once or twice.
Wow. And it's funny because you have some Scottish, accent when you talk. You can pick some words when you say it's interesting. Amazing. Okay. Last question for you is, tell something interesting about yourself, or maybe something that not many people know about you.
I have an obsession with cracking my knuckles like
Oh
every
God,
20 minutes.
I'm
And
exactly
then
the
from my
same.
knuckles, I go to my wrists. And from my wrists, I go to my knees. And if I'm sat on the train or a plane and I can't stretch my legs, I will have to get up and get out because like has to happen. Otherwise, I will crumble in anxiety. So that's
Interesting.
something. I should have just gone with that instead of the nose bit.
Amazing. It's not the end yet. Let's play now the word association game. Okay, I'm going to give away some words. Just tell one word that comes to your mind. Quick thinking. Okay.
Okay.
Let's start with money.
Happiness.
Family.
Everything.
Fear.
Career.
Fear.
Oh, fear. Um, Fear is inevitable.
Okay. Life.
Beautiful.
Love.
Painfully lush. That's
I like
2
that.
words.
I like that. It can be painful for sure. Oh my God, it can hurt like. Religion.
Distraction.
Sex.
Amazing.
I thought you'd say distraction as well. I'm joking. Politics.
Yeah, I love to study them, but I'm disenchanted with them. So we'll say disappointment.
Okay.
But
Friendship.
I still love talking about it.
Friendship.
What got me through everything, my friends.
Desire.
Pleasure.
Regret.
Learning opportunities.
Success.
Wish I had it.
Okay. Wish.
Wish. A window to my heart's desire, I guess.
Okay. Happiness.
My life has been mostly happy.
One word for Mexico.
Tacos.
I love it.
Like a tremendous pride of tacos. You do not come after. You can say anything shitty about Mexico, but if you come after the tacos, you're gonna have a revolution. So.
Do you like cooking, Yassef?
I do. I'm not very good at cooking for large parties, but like a small gathering of 4 or 5 friends, I do enjoy cooking.
I see. San Diego, one word.
Love to hate it.
One word for USA.
Evil.
Okay. And the last one now is Scotland. One word.
Baltic.
Amazing. Let's pretend I'm going to meet your best friend for a coffee, and I'm going to ask your best friends. Define yourself in one positive and one negative word only. What your best friend would say?
Positive word would be inspiring.
Okay.
Negative is overthinker. I live in my head. It's a torturous chamber.
If I would ask the same question to your brother, would be the same answer?
No. Oh God, no. He would say the good word would probably be intelligent. He really regards my intelligence. A negative would be self-saboteur.
Interesting. Okay. Let's play now Yassef and the Magic Box, and you can ask me a question. But before you ask me the question, what's your favorite Spanish word?
it has to be a Mexican Spanish word. Chingo, chingar. It's like it's the most versatile way to emphasize, curse, encourage. Oh, it's beautiful. It's just lush. Un chingo de ganas de decirte algo. Oh, amazing.
Okay, can I ask me a question now?
Okay, so I I said, what is one mistake you made or setback you experienced that turned out to be a blessing?
Wow, what a great question, Yassef. Great question. Mistake that I made that became life experience. Yeah, life. Wow. Wow, put me right in the spot. I love it. I love when I get the spots. Right. Okay. Okay. First thing comes to my mind is so when I arrived in London, I used to work in an Italian restaurant. Yeah, and
Mhm.
I got very excited about London. I was working in a restaurant. I was kind of excited about the experience, and I after a few months, I start a lovely Italian friend. He started working there as well. He just came from Italy. He are from Italy, and he didn't have much experience in London. He could speak English very well at the time, and somehow we connected. So I was helping him a lot. Like I was helping him, and and we became very close. Fun enough, one point, he got promoted, and I didn't know how to deal with that because I was like, oh my God, I've trained him, you know, I know I get not with him, but with the situation itself. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
very young. I could accept the situation. I didn't know how to deal with the situation. So I got a bit moody. I didn't know what's a mistake because my manager at the time, she literally has everything ready for me to become, a supervisor in another restaurant in the same chain. But because my attitudes, yeah, I didn't get it. But
Right.
back to your question, why for me was a mistake that is in the end came out as a positive thing. Of course, it was a mistake because I didn't know how to deal with that. Yeah, again, the Latin blood, you know what I mean? I was very young. I didn't know how to deal with the situation. My ego, I don't know, everything there was all mixed up. However, after that, I decided to apply for a five-star hotel company that I never had worked before in hospitality. And guess what? It turned out okay. They got me the job, and I felt the happiest, working there because if I didn't go through that experience, maybe I would have a career there and I wouldn't have the opportunity to work in a five-star environment where I had the best training, the best experiences over there. You know what I mean? It was amazing. I was so grateful that I had this learning curve where I didn't know how to deal with the situation, but it came out as a very good thing because I started working and I was enjoying so much working in that hotel chain because trust me, I was so excited. I had the pleasure to meet Mary Streep. I had the pleasure to meet so many people. Yes, I was literally in a bedroom, just me and Mary Streep one day.
Oh my God.
I know I was doing room service. I was doing room service, and suddenly I rang the bell to deliver breakfast, and Mary Streep opened the door. And of course, I was very professional, but deep inside, I was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe it's just me and Mary Streep right now in this bedroom." You know what I mean?
Jesus.
So imagine all those experiences I had just because this, let's say, bad attitude that I had. I didn't know how to manage. I was very young. However, it turned around and I learned my lesson at the time. You just need to, trust the process, let it go, go with it, make mistakes. Sometimes the mistakes turn out as a good thing as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, that came to my mind, that experience. So yeah, good question. You put me on the
Lovely.
spot.
Yes. All right.
Did you like the interview yourself?
I did. It was very fun, and it went by a lot quicker. Like,
I know, my God. Yes, you went very fast. Thanks again for being so open, so kind, and accept my invitation. And also as well, thanks again for touching something very personal and and to help people around the globe and people watch this interview as well. Appreciate for sure.
of
Before you
course.
go, if you can share a positive message or anything that you live by.
Um, I would say start every day with gratitude, and your life will change for the better in
Yes,
the most unexpected ways. But always start with gratitude.
I love it. I love it. Muitas gracias.
De nada. Muito obrigado.
Thanks so much. Keep in touch, and I'll see you sometime somewhere in the
Yeah,
world. Okay?
would be good. Take care,
Take care.
William. Have a good night.
And you. Bye. So, did you like the show? Don't forget to give a like, share it, and also don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And if you'd like to be part of the show as well, first, subscribe to our channel, and after that, just go to our website, www.williamandthemagicbox.com, and send us a request saying why would you like to be part of the show. And I see you there. Bye bye, see you next time.